Thank my distinguished colleagues with the DPCC for their presentation. Questions?
Mr. Chair, just on the Build Back Better, yesterday Senator Manchin said that it was effectively dead. So how frustrated are you as House Democrats since you got the ball to the other side of the field? And are you worried that it could be dead the longer this drags on?
We're not frustrated. I don't believe that Build Back Better is dead. The Senate will have to work through its dynamics. We're going to continue to focus right now in the House on making sure that we pass the America Competes Act, which is going to address the supply chain issues that we're confronting right now, which has caused some inflationary issues that the American people are dealing with. I'm hopeful that our Republican colleagues will actually join us in this effort, and instead of simply talking the talk, that they'll walk the walk. The Senate dynamics will work itself out, but I think right in front of us right now is the American Competes Act. That is an important step forward for everyday Americans and the American people.
I mean, as far as the policy and communications team are concerned, can you speak to what that means for your messaging? Do you talk about it? Do you not talk about it?
Democrats will continue to deliver for the people.
Thank you. Good morning. So obviously the administration has announced that it's forward deploying many of these troops in Romania and other places in Eastern Europe here. This is a different, the makeup of the Democratic caucus is different than some years ago, right after 9/11, where you had one member who voted against the AUMF after that. Nobody's talking about an AUMF this time, but historically there have been resolutions and concerns expressed by Congress as it pertains to war powers. 95 Bosnia, 99 Serbia. What is that talk in your caucus, especially from those on the left who say, we are Congress, we need to assert ourselves, diplomacy is the best answer, which is something that a couple of members have said. What's the approach? What do you hear?
Well, we haven't had a caucus-wide conversation about this particular subject yet. We are going to have a bipartisan classified briefing on the situation in the Ukraine tomorrow. I'm sure members will be able to express their perspectives there. But President Biden and the administration, I believe, have been operating constructively, working with our NATO allies and our European allies to try to de-escalate the situation. And they'll continue to do the best they can. And I've got full confidence in the
Do
administration.
you see any divides in your caucus? And I think Mr. Lewd served in the military force, but any divides in the caucus between the administration position and based on what I laid out, the premise about war powers?
I think I'm going to refrain from commenting in terms of anyone's perspective until all of us have had the opportunity to hear the bipartisan briefing tomorrow.
I have a question on the Competes Act. So there are some proposals in there to crack down on human rights abuses in China. Would you say that that's just as important as the investments that we're doing in the domestic manufacturing and production?
Everything in the bill is important, and it's a collection in terms of its work product of the input from people all across the Congress on these various committees. Many of the provisions in the bill are bipartisan in nature. And I think everyone recognizes, certainly within the House Democratic Caucus, the importance of passing a bill that is going to create millions of good paying jobs, that's going to relieve some of the supply chain pressures that we have, directly confront inflation, and ensure that American manufacturing can be competitive, that we can restore it, and that we can continue to lead in technology and innovation moving forward. And let me yield to anyone more from the DPCC if they want to add. Debbie?
I mean, it matters. We got to get it done. I mean, I come from a state where my plants are closed. We're down to 5.
Mike?
I mean, we got to get this done. Everything matters, but we've got to get in particular, we got to get the chip spills done. We're down to a 5-day supply in this country. Plants have been closed in my district off and on for months. We're hearing this across the country. I'm a car girl, but it's not just car girls in Silicon Valley and Colorado and medical supplies. So we got to get this bill done and we got to get it to conference. And I've worked with many of my Republican colleagues who know that this is important too. And I wish some days that things just didn't come down to being partisan votes, because I know that the Ohio Republican members who just got the Intel plant know how important pieces of this bill are the supply chain. It's just, everybody understands supply chain. When I started at GM, I don't want to say how many years ago, nobody knew what just-in-time was. They didn't understand what supply chain was. We all now understand it, and it's not just an economic issue. It's a national security issue. Every part of this bill matters. We got to get it done. We got to get this done with the Senate, and it's got to go to the president. It matters to the country, every single provision in it.
It's also important to point out that we used to make about 35 to 37% of the chips,
40%, actually.
about 40%, although Secretary gave us a little lower number. But and now we're down to about 12%. But Secretary Raimondo made a very important point today. She said, currently we make 0% of the chips necessary for military grade equipment, high-end computing, and artificial intelligence. 0%. The Democrats are going to advance a bill to directly address this economic and national security challenge. We're hopeful that our Republicans will join us.
Sorry, just to follow up quickly, why do you think that